Obama briefed on unverified Russian report? Tulsi Gabbard agrees with Project Veritas. Was Prince Andrew fascinated by Ghislaine Maxwell? The FBI. And lastly, Disney lays off tens of thousands of its employees. Welcome back to the Daily Facts. Let's get right into it. So, Obama was briefed on unverified Russian report claiming Clinton approved plan to tie Trump to Putin and DNC hack. Okay, this is from the Washington Examiner. President Barack Obama was briefed in the summer of 2016 about an unverified Russian intelligence analysis that claimed former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who was then the Democratic presidential nominee, approved an effort to tie candidate Donald Trump to Russia's hack of the Democratic National Committee, the nation's top chief, the nation's top spy chief revealed on Tuesday. A one-page letter, Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe sent to and released by Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham said U.S. intelligence agencies obtained in late July 2016 insight into Russia intelligence analysis alleging the U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton had approved a campaign plan to stir up a scandal against U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump by tying him to Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Russians' hacking of the Democratic National Committee. But Ratcliffe stressed the intelligence community does not know the accuracy of this allegation or the extent to which the Russian intelligence analysis may reflect exaggeration or fabrication. Isn't that interesting? So, all of this Russia nonsense is just collapsing. It's not making any sense. And it's probably just a lot of rumor that is causing them to have the legs kicked from under their chair. Rumor and innuendo is what's killing them, and non-factual information like a Steele dossier. So, this isn't surprising. James Comey's going to be testifying, as best he can, which is not really testifying, not telling us much of anything, but he'll be out there talking about this. It's just like the story that never ends. You expect to pick up a book and read it cover to cover, and it have a beginning, a middle, and an ending, but this Russia crap just never ends. And, you kind of feel sorry for Russia and the people of Russia, and because their name is just being dragged left and right every turn, every time you turn around. I'm not so sure we should feel sorry for Vladimir Putin, right? But if he's being lied about consistently, well, that's an issue as well. So yeah, it's just really more of the same. It's more of the same. But it's not going to end. And I'm going to tell you what, when President Trump gets reelected, they're going to double down on it. They being the Democrats. They're going to double down on this. They're not going to leave it alone. There's just no way. They think it's golden. It's their golden ticket, but it's gotten them absolutely nowhere, that golden ticket. All right, well, speaking of golden tickets, this may be one for the Republicans and President Trump, because Tulsi Gabbard, who is not a Republican last time I checked, although, one might think she is, and she may eventually switch parties, but right now she's a Democrat and she's out there backing Project Veritas. So this comes from Newsweek. Tulsi Gabbard backs ban on ballot harvesting after Project Veritas video. And I covered this yesterday on the news. I covered the Project Veritas report on Ilhan Omar and her dealings. Now, Ilhan Omar, I mean, she's almost to me like a villain. I mean, I don't know how else to describe her. Um, okay, let's get into it. Representative Tulsi Gabbard has called for a ban on ballot harvesting following a video from Project Veritas allegedly showing political operatives in Minneapolis, Minnesota, illegally carrying out the practice. Ballot harvesting refers to laws in some states allowing third parties to collect and deliver ballots. Where it is illegal, campaign workers or volunteers can go to voters' homes and collect completed ballots. They can then deliver them in mass to polling places or election offices. Some states allow ballot harvesters to be paid an hourly rate for their work. Gabbard, a Democrat, took to Twitter on Monday to reiterate her earlier support for a ban on ballot harvesting. She specifically referenced a Project Veritas video, which has caused more controversy. Yeah, well, she isn't helping the Democratic Party, she's helping the Republican Party. The Project Veritas video shows a man, Liban Mohammed, talking about harvesting ballots for the Minneapolis City Council candidate Jamal Osman. Later in the video, community activist Omar Jamal claims Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar pays for ballot harvesting. Hmm. Now, this is all alleged, right? This is all alleged, but Ilhan Omar just there's a lot of rumors that swirl around her. And granted, they're rumors, but you just wonder. I'm willing to give a person the benefit of the doubt. So we'll say that she's, of course, innocent until proven guilty, but I would just like some of these things to be hashed out in a court of law. But until then, we'll take Representative Tulsi Gabbard coming out and backing Project Veritas. We'll take it. All right, this next story, it's never ending. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and the lot of them, it's just a never ending saga. Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and his story lives on. And he was indicted, and there's a lot of people mentioned in his indictment, not by name, but by person one, person two. And I believe all of those people that are in his indictment are being investigated. It's quite fascinating that he had all of these people around him helping him to pull off what he pulled off. Anyway, let's get into the story. This is from Newsmax. What fascinated Prince Andrew about Ghislaine Maxwell before Epstein's scandal? Well, it doesn't seem like much. It takes much to fascinate Prince Andrew, but let's take a look at this story. Speaking of Prince Andrew, do you recall when he came out and told he was being interviewed by BBC, and he told the interviewer that he couldn't sweat, and so they couldn't be telling the truth? I'm going to play the clip. Listen. Virginia Roberts Gouffre says she danced with him and he sweats.
She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating, because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, and that was yes, I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at. And I simply, it was almost impossible for me to sweat. And it's only because I have done a number of things in the recent past that I'm starting to be able to do that again. So I'm afraid to say that there's a medical condition that says that I didn't do it, so therefore.
There's a medical condition that says you didn't do it? Does that make sense to you? I mean, it's just like, did he think anybody was going to believe that? Okay, well, let's get into the story. Prince Andrew was lured. Okay, so he didn't do it by his free will. He's an adult man at this point, but he was lured. Okay, Prince Andrew was lured into Jeffrey Epstein's world of exploitation after he became fascinated with Ghislaine Maxwell. This is a book that's out. A new book claims. The Duke of York was introduced to the British socialite by ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, according to a biography of his father titled Prince Philip Revealed. Now, Prince Andrew's ex-wife Sarah Ferguson is questionable at best. I mean, she's shady to me. But anyway, let's keep going. Author Ingrid Seward writes that it was Maxwell's worldly sophistication that first drew Andrew into a friendship that would ultimately leave him emotionally battered. Oh, this grown man is emotionally battered. Get out of here. The Duke stood down from public life in disgrace after a car crash BBC interview in which he would not say he regretted his friendship with Epstein. Well, of course he didn't regret it. He was having too much fun, allegedly. Seward writes, his ex-wife Sarah introduced him to the late Sir Robert Maxwell's daughter, Ghislane, and Andrew was fascinated by her worldly sophistication. Ghislane, in turn, introduced the Duke to a previously out-of-bounds, raunchy international lifestyle, and he was fascinated by it. Okay, so he was fascinated by a out-of-bounds, raunchy international lifestyle. Well, that tells you a lot about his character then, if he's fascinated by that. It suited her to be able to produce Prince Andrew at parties, and she hosted dinners for him at her sometime partner, the financier Jeffrey Epstein's Upper East Side apartment in New York. Well, I would suggest that it wasn't his sometimes partner, it was his all the time partner. I mean, it was a partner. There's all kinds of, partner can be defined by many things. Partner in crime, partner in illicit activity, and so on and so forth, right? Whatever. Ghislane took Andrew wherever he was willing to go, but still naively, the Duke failed to see he was being used. Okay. Well, I think we've seen enough of this. This is a story that should be called Poor Prince Andrews, a grown man that was suckered and didn't use his own brain when it came to making real good decisions because he made real bad ones. Let's move on. Okay, this next story is from The Hill. The FBI and special counsel's horrible, terrible, miserable week. Okay, let's see what's going on here, why it's so horrible. Well, they already start out with something interesting. Albert Einstein had his theory of relativity validated by the atomic bomb. Like it or not, Donald Trump's widely ridiculed witch hunt, and I would agree it's a witch hunt, theory was bolstered by a couple more explosive revelations released last week that once again prove paranoia doesn't mean they're not actually out to get you. Now, paranoia is a strong clinical term, and I don't know who's paranoid here, but I don't see the president as paranoid. I see him as pointing out facts, and he's done that all along. And I would be happy to say if I felt he was paranoid, but I just don't. My gut tells me, allows me to see these things the way they truly are, and a lot of it is just a setup. Nancy Pelosi said she was set up by the hair salon. No, President Trump has been set up by this Russia nonsense. All right, so the first blast revealed that the FBI investigated the primary source of the Steele dossier years ago for a Russian spy. Amazingly, we're just learning this now. The second detonation comes from an FBI agent deeply embedded in the Crossfire Hurricane and Special Counsel investigations who lambasted the exercise as an effort to get Trump rather than follow actual evidence. Well, the front office's stop Trump tone was set early on by former agent Peter Strzok's infamous text to former FBI counsel Lisa Page on August 15, 2016. I'm afraid we can't take that risk regarding Trump's chances of being elected president. Yeah, they wanted to stop him at all costs. The triaca at the top, former FBI Director James Comey, his Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and Strzok had a problem, though. They feared a Trump presidency, but lacked any real evidence to stop him. Well, exactly. We know from the communication crafted by Strzok opening the Crossfire Hurricane investigation that he articulated no legal basis to initiate the case. All right, but you did it anyway. Not to be deterred, the trio decided to exploit the Steele dossier to continue their unprecedented investigation of presidential campaign, even though they knew it was paid for by the Clinton campaign. even though Comey himself described it as a salacious and unverified, even though the primary subsource admitted he fabricated most of it. And we now learn, even though the FBI investigated the subsource years prior as a Russian spy. So it's just more of the same. More of the same. This story goes on and on. It's actually rather interesting. But the short and long, or long and short of it, is that this has blown up in their face, and there being anybody who didn't want President Trump in office. And that could be just about anybody. I don't even think it has a side, like, i.e., Republican, Democrat. I just think there were a lot of people that did not want him in office. But he's there. And in my humble opinion, will be there for 4 more years. So just buckle up. Buckle up, because it's going to be a rough ride for everybody. All right, speaking of rides, we're going to talk about Disney. Yeah, they have fun rides. I've been there. But what we're getting ready to discuss is not so fun. So this comes from CNBC. All right, so Disney to lay off 28,000 employees. That's unbelievable. So let's read the key points. Disney will lay off 28,000 employees across its parks, experiences, and consumer products segment. The company blamed prolonged closures and capacity limits at open parks for the layoffs. Well, we could have guessed that. While Disney's theme parks in Florida, Paris, Shanghai, Japan, and Hong Kong have been able to reopen with limited capacity, both California theme parks have remained shuttered. So prolonged closures at Disney's California theme parks and a limited attendance at its open parks has forced the company to lay off 28,000 employees across its parks. So, but hey, Disney isn't the only one hurting here. There's small restaurants that can only do 25 capacity, 50% capacity, and they're hurting too. I mean, I guess Disney's getting the love from the media because it's so huge and it's a beloved company. But, this is across the board, big and small, right? In a memo sent to employees on Tuesday, Josh D. A. Morrow, head of parks at Disney, detailed several difficult decisions the company has had to make, including its furlough of thousands of employees. Shares of the company fell less than 2% after the closing bell on Tuesday. Well, I mean, 2% isn't that bad. Around 67% of the 28,000 laid off workers were part-time employees, according to a statement by DeMauro on Tuesday. The company declined to break down the layoffs by individual park locations. Okay, well, it's not any easier when they're part-time workers. Those part-time workers could be their second job that makes them, takes it over the top for them in terms of paying their bills. So it doesn't matter if they're part-time or a quarter time. They work there and they're being laid off. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So, while we're talking about Disney losing a percentage of their stock falling, basically 2%, people are losing their jobs. And I think that we need to see more of this, not more of people being laid off. No, we need to see more stories like this so people are made aware of what's happening and how, this has affected people and their lives and their livelihood. That's all I'll say about that. All right, well, thanks for stopping by the Daily Facts. I do hope you enjoyed. Please do like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. We'll talk again soon. Bye.